Dr. Ekuru Aukot suffers what we call selective amnesia disorder. When I did say that the country was at the brink of precipice, the brink, I was personally in Parliament. And by the way, he's quickly forgetting that until Honorable Raila Odinga shook hands with President RUTO, we were on the other side. And we could see the country collapsing literally on our faces. The young people literally breached Parliament.
Why did they breach Parliament in your view?
I'm trying to qualify why I'm saying it. We were at the brink of precipice. Of course, you know that there was an impending finance bill which was being debated and was due for passage in Parliament the same day. So when they brought down a fortified gate and made their way into Parliament, searching for members of Parliament either to punish or to kill, that to me is a brink of precipice. And
so you say you voted no?
I voted no.
You voted no.
I voted.
And they were calling for either those for you guys to vote that finance bill down because of the punitive tax proposals.
Correct.
And what was and you were in the tunnel.
I was
campaigning for safety.
I was in Parliament.
So
yes.
so why then did your colleagues, your party's Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, they were in the safe company of the people because their position was clear. Your position as well was clear of the party, and you voted no. Why then did you scamper for safety if you did the right thing that the people wanted?
We voted no, and we can be vindicated by the records in Parliament, together with the electronic voting gadgets. You know, we vote electronically. And at some point, we actually demanded for our voices to be heard by votes saying, Honorable Jared Okello, Nyando constituency, I vote no, so that it could go on record. But remember that when they breached Parliament, when somebody breaches Parliament, for example, bringing down a gate, the first thing that comes to you is that they are up to something. You know, they're up to something. Because why would somebody breach a gate when they can still have a safe entry into Parliament? So our quick thinking was that these were thugs coming into Parliament to carry out heinous acts. So that is the first step. And what do you do? And when they come in large numbers, and for certain times, they don't even know who belongs where. So you can easily fall a victim of those thorough beatings.
You have been on this platform for so many times before the voting.
Right.
So what was different with your party Secretary General and your colleague from Embakasi East?
Well, remember,
because they mingle so easily with the people.
Well, you remember they represent Nairobi.
Yeah.
The senator, the Secretary General is a senator of Nairobi. Yeah. Babu Owino is a member of Parliament from Nairobi. I'm not a member of Parliament from Nairobi, and I believe, whereas many Kenyans know me, they see me on television, I do not really know whether that is enough to safeguard, or provide safety to my presence in Parliament as at that time. But also remember that on the same day, the President unleashed military officials from the barracks to come and occupy the country, not just Nairobi. And later on, they brought that motion into Parliament so that we could sanitize. Because again, you cannot bring out members of the military on the streets without the approval of Parliament. So things worked the reverse. So they unleashed them on the streets and later on brought it to Parliament too. So I was only trying to qualify how the country almost went on the precipice.
Is that respect for the Constitution, Mheshimiwa?
Breaching Parliament is
no. The deployment
of the Kenya Defence
Deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces without.
No. That was wrong. That was wrong. We raised it, and at that time, then they called Parliament back to pass that kind of, release of military officials. That was a breach of the Constitution as well. And we say it as much.
At least now you're admitting something.
Let me also say this. Well, you remember, we joined with the President after they shook hands. Yeah, so, and we did that to stabilize the country. That is why now we can freely talk. Somebody like you would be taken by Subarus out here upon leaving Royal Media House. But we had to bring sanity.
On what grounds?
Well, there were many grounds before we joined. So, but let me say this.
As you finish
let me say this.
Yes, Philip, please finish up.
For the first time in the history of Africa, a president acknowledges the brutality meted on his people by the police. And he goes ahead to say, those victims, even though 2017 he wasn't the president, they must be compensated.
But he called the innocent people of Nyanza region militia.
Who did?
William RUTO, the deputy president then.
Well, that has not stopped him from accepting compensation to go to the people who suffered. So that is why I'm saying this.
But Honorable Jared, why do you, a parliamentarian, it's so disturbing, is it, and appalling when you, a ranking member of the party, ODM party as well, today at the expense of presidential proclamation, bills it or tout it big matter, big issue, when the president says victims should be compensated. Yet there is an entire report called the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, where more than 40,000 submissions have been made, which documented all the historical injustices since 1963. And you parliamentarians overlook that because the occupant at State House, whoever it is not willing to give it the direction to do so. You have the power to invoke that. Why not also relook back?
Why haven't the victims of Agala massacre, for example,
when we joined President RUTO to help stabilize our nation, what was on the cards then were the victims of police brutality, and we voiced it as much. Remember, the Truth and Justice Commission report, dubbed Ndungu report, was not brought during President RUTO's tenure.
It was brought during the Jubilee government.
During Kibaki, actually. During Kibaki's
it was tabled in Parliament.
Let's correct this narrative.
Yes.
Government is in perpetuity. You cannot tell me because a government that was there before and there is already a commission of inquiry where money was expended to establish wrongs done to the people of Kenya that this government cannot now implement it. After all, on the same note, Honorable Gerald, on the same note, RUTO did not initiate all the projects that they are now claiming to implement. Some of them, actually most of the projects, perhaps only Talanta Stadium.
Including the e-procurement.
Exactly. They did not start with him, but he is
on the same. It is true. It is true that governments work in perpetuity. But then it becomes hypocritical that this report was actually manufactured, or rather, the reports were collected and collated during Kibaki's time. So we had Kibaki, we had Uhuru Kenyatta. Not a single voice was directed either from Dr. Ekuru, who was just an adult then, over the execution of that report. Now that President RUTO has accepted to pay victims of police brutality, and by the way, we have to remember that most of the people who were victims of police brutality were from the Luo Nyanza. So the problem here is that the Luos for the first time are going to be given some compensation, some reparations. So that is the problem that the opposition has. And I'm saying that, let me tell you before, I'm wondering how a dead Luo and an injured Luo becomes a problem when compensated. So go ahead.
Those were not the only victims.
Just hang on. It's not about whataboutism. It's not about the ethnic concerns that communities have. Kenyans' rights have been violated, including those from Luo Nyanza and all parts of this country. The point is then, why are you trading on such flimsy grounds when Parliament, where you sit, is bestowed with the power to relook into all the issues? And power is granted so much that today the president only wills some political power because you hold the cards to even impeach him. Why not to look back at all these things?
And let me repeat this. What was on the cards immediately the union came about was the excesses as exercised by the police, the people who were killed, the people who were maimed. And this sat at the very core of Raila Odinga's considerations in his engagement with the president. And in the president's wisdom, he said, even though I took over office from 2022, I'm not going just to look at those who suffered during this period. I have to extend it further to 2017. I haven't heard the president saying that he's not going to relook at the Ndung'u report. I haven't heard that. But I've equally not heard anybody until this show who is now pursuing very vigorously the implementation of the Ndung'u report.
It's me who asked. So the question is
that's a very good thing. I think the president is watching. Go to Ndung'u report, President RUTO.
And it's because you are a member of parliament representing the people of Nyando, but in the National Member Assembly, therefore, it's pertinent, therefore, to also put you under the spot.
Ayub, there's one thing that I want us to correct here, speaking from a constitutional point of view. When Kenyans decided they are going to invade parliament, I'm not advocating for violence. However, Kenyans were now invoking Article 1 of the Constitution on the sovereign power that vests in the people and that they can exercise directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. What Kenyans then said, our elected representatives have actually failed us. We are now taking back that sovereign power and authority. And that's why they wanted to go to their house. You know, because the parliamentarians, and like you said, rightfully so, Secretary General Sifuna, Babu Owino interacted very well with the people because they could feel the pulse of the nation, and that's why they were not afraid, and they did not run like Honorable Gerald here took off from. Now, the question of compensation, I totally agree, but it should not be discriminative, like my brother Habukari has said. There are many reports that actually establishes the violation of human rights. So if you're going to go compensation, let's go the full haul. Secondly, compensation without justice and accountability is playing lip service to addressing those atrocities. For example, Ayub, let's use very simple examples that I think fresh in people's minds. Albert Ojwang was killed under police custody. Njoki was killed under police custody. Boniface Karaoke, standing by the wall, just selling masks, was shot. And we all saw that. Who killed Albert Ojwang? Njoki. Who is that cop who actually shot Karaoke? If the president wants us to believe him, and this charade of this commission that he has created, then let's also hold the people who caused those sufferings accountable. Without accountability, this compensation is cosmetic.
So, Ayub, we are not going to allow Dr. Ekuru Aukot to mislead Kenyans here. You cannot say that you are hiding behind sovereignty to allow young people bring down a gate of parliament and have them move in droves into parliament. And you call that exercising sovereignty. You are not
have you not read Article 1 of the Constitution? You are a legislator.
It does not talk about breaching a gate. No. It does not say bring down a gate. You can't glorify violence. When you elected representatives fail the people, the people now can take over their power. It has happened elsewhere, Bangladesh, in many other countries. We will not allow you to glorify violence at the altar of perpetuating Article 1 of the Constitution.
I'm not glorifying violence.
Remember the U.S., and I'm glad my friend here lives in the U.S. I've been to Capitol Hill many times. When people breached Capitol and they got into that parliament, people ended up in jail. Up to now, there are people languishing in jail for breaching.
But the difference, Honorable Jared, is that they were prompted. Trump gave them the nod. It was with his tacit consent. That is fascism. And he released 1,500, gave them amnesty when he came to power, when they were sentenced. So it's a whole different ballgame. Those are not demonstrators who are against tax proposal or government policies. It's a whole different ballgame, is it?
The bottom line here is you cannot use violence to breach our constitutionally recognized office, much less Parliament of Kenya, one of the three arms of government. And they breached it. Not that they had a petition, because even if you read Article 37 of our Constitution, yes, you can picket, you can demonstrate, you can present petitions to government authorities, and Parliament is one of them. They did not come to do any of those three. They literally brought down at the gates of Parliament. We can't glorify that. I think as a society and as a people who hold our country dearly at heart, we also must practice certain ethos that feed into purity of our elections and purity of our governance. But because just somebody is in opposition, and I've been in opposition, by the way, that is the only politics I understand. But I also know that there are certain excesses
At least you're radiating now, you're not in opposition.
We are here to help RUTO stabilize the government. So I cannot say,
what is unstable about this government?
So we will not allow certain excesses that will bring down our country. The prayers that Ekuru Aukot and company are having every day is that the government collapses and they take over. But they will have to wait a little longer.
Before I come to Abogo, Honorable Jared,
that's not true.
You said that your party leader has provided the stability in government.
Correct.
Okay. That is under this arrangement with the president. So in the context of the handshake he had with Uhuru Kenyatta, what did he provide?
Same stability.
In the context he had with Grand Coalition government with Mwai Kibaki, what did he provide?
Same stability.
1997.
How about 1997, Daniel Arap Moi?
Same stability.
Would it be fair if he's labeled the king of handshakes?
The king of stabilizing our nation. Because Raila Odinga, and I've worked very closely with him. I have traveled with him, I have worked with him, we have shared quite a lot in common. He puts our country first. He would rather sacrifice his own personal ambition for the stability of this country. That is the Raila Odinga that many people don't know of. He would go into any length, reach out to his worst critic, just to ensure that our country is one. The unity of our country sits at the core of his each and every consideration. So even if it is about reaching out to Gachagua for the sake of stabilizing this country, Raila Odinga would go into such lengths to do that.
But the Kenyan people view so differently when politicians come together in that unity aspect. But however,
history will vindicate him one day.
Because you travel with him a lot, did you tell him, or do you mind telling him, that some of the major pledges the president made, his broad-based partner, have not been met, including what the Controller of Budget pointed out in her report in the last financial year, that 25 billion Kenya shillings was blown up in foreign and domestic travel, despite the president pledging to have that by 50%?
Well, the report was actually unleashed yesterday, and I haven't met him since yesterday.
Okay. When you meet him next, will you mind calling?
I will. Well, he already knows because he reads it here.
Yeah.
And finally, we can have peace as a nation. But allow me to say this.
Yes, please.
That even with all the problems and all the ballooning of our issues internally, remember the United Nations is trooping to Kenya. The UNICEF is relocating its headquarters to Nairobi. The UNFPA, the UNICEF fund, is coming to Kenya. The UNOPS, the United Nations Population Service, is coming to Nairobi. All these are moving to Nairobi with all the noises from Ekuru and company, Gachagua, Matiang'i, and Kalonzo, notwithstanding, meaning the world is not listening to them.
Thank you. Point noted, but also not the fact that you have deliberately also overlooked the hospitality and the warm reception of the
Kenyan people, yes.
And how hardworking they are, the social capital that they can provide. Yes, we have to give it to the Kenyan people as well.